Farm Small, Farm Smart Daily is part of the Modern Grower Podcast Network. Check out some of our other shows like Carrot Cash Flow, the Growing Microgreens Podcast, and Farm Small, Farm Smart. Learn more about the shows using the link below. So with this geologically long relationship between these two entities, the fungi comes in contact with the root. How does the plant become aware or enable it to colonize it? Does the fungi send out a signal that says doing it? Because I'm thinking, hey, I'm a nefarious one, right? I don't want to be a symbiote. I don't want to partner with you. I want to take you over. I'm going to mimic this thing. You're going to let me colonize you. And then suddenly I'm on board the ship and it's mine now.
It can be good or bad. Yeah. So I'm not an expert in this field, but I do know that fungi can trigger the jasmonic acid pathway in plants, which is the defensive pathway. So the plant will recognize this thing as a threat, right? It's something coming into your body. So it can trigger that pathway, even though it ends up being a beneficial interaction. But sometimes triggering that pathway can also be a benefit to the plant, can prime it for other actual pathogens or herbivores that it might encounter along the way.
And then when that connection is made, earlier you alluded to one of the main trades is carbon for phosphorus. Is phosphorus the main thing that a lot of the AMF are supplying?
Yeah, the AMF are phosphorus specialists for sure. And they're sensitive to the levels of phosphorus in the soil, and they're excellent at acquiring inorganic phosphorus especially. But they can acquire a bunch of things, including nitrogen. There's been some work looking at water, calcium, and other micronutrients. So all these things in the soil, the fungi are interacting with, and they can acquire them and transplant them to their plant host, as long as they're getting fed.
For people listening to this involved in gardening or ag, how does the relationship function in, say, a soil that has been fertilized with phosphorus and it's high versus one that's just more naturally low?
Sure. I would say in the lower phosphorus environments, the fungi are essential almost, versus in many of our post-ag landscapes and the landscapes that we're fertilizing constantly, that can actually lead to a situation where the fungi essentially become functionally redundant, depending on the plant. So if that plant has a lot of fine roots and also a lot of phosphorus, it might do actually okay without a fungal partner. In some plants, let's say onions, we've all picked up an onion and it has those little rootlets, they're very coarse roots. So onions don't have a ton of roots. No matter their phosphorus situation, they're going to be associating with mycorrhizal fungi because they just don't have the fine roots to even interact with enough phosphorus to support that plant. So it depends on the plant for sure. It actually takes quite a bit of phosphorus to make that relationship redundant, though, for most plant species. You have to fertilize a ton.
If somebody's looking at supplementing their growing with an AMF inoculant, if we look at the benefits to the plant as a pie chart, is the biggest slice of that pie and phosphorus in terms of
I'd say, yeah, the biggest benefit in most situations is going to be phosphorus. Yes.
Yeah, I was looking through some of the studies that you've worked on in the past, and one was the one you did looking at the plant community response to a 15-year long term of nitrogen and phosphorus enrichment in a grassland system. We found nitrogen and phosphorus enrichment resulted in plant community diversity decrease and composition change.
It also alters the fungi over time.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about that and how that looks in the real world? So what was happening on that land that you guys looked at?
Sure. So this was a study at the Kansas Biological Survey, which is where I work at the University of Kansas. And yeah, this is a really long-term phosphorus and nitrogen addition study. So many decades. I think now it's many decades. And the data we looked at, I think, was the 18th year or something, as you mentioned. But so, right, as you're continuously supplying this increased nutrients to plants, it can change the community composition in a couple of ways. For instance, non-native plants and some weedy plants are the ones that tend to be more fine-rooted. In a situation where there's really easy to access nutrients because of fertilization, these plants become more dominant. Versus in the unfertilized prairie, where nutrients are really low because they're managed, they already have pretty low nutrient, but they're managed via burning, which can remove additional nutrient accumulation. The plants that excel in that environment are the ones that can tolerate lower nitrogen and phosphorus. And they also tend to be the ones that are the more reliant on the mycorrhizal fungi too.
So you have weedy plants, more roots, fine roots. They can use those roots to go pick up all the abundance of nutrients that have been added to the soil. So why in ag systems you see a lot of those weedy plants show up.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, if they're doing all that work on their own, they don't need that relationship as much with the AMF.
For the most part, yeah. So they're not feeding the fungi as much and they're not supporting them. And that those fungal communities can shift in terms of what fungi can survive not being fed as much. It tends to be the smaller, weedier species that don't grow as much hyphae and are less beneficial. Those are the ones that can survive poor quality host plants, basically parents that don't care about them at all. And so these fungi are proliferating. So it's a shift in communities and also a decline in some of those beneficial species over time.
Hello, growers. Want to boost your sales, reach new customers, and streamline your sales process, all from your home office? Ready Farmer 1, my book, is your ultimate guide to making it happen. Imagine increasing your farm's revenue without ever spending a Saturday at the farmer's market. The book will show you how to create, design, and market an online farm store, learn from real farmers sharing real stories about how they move their stores online, freeing up their weekends and increasing their sales. Get my book, Ready Farmer 1, on Amazon and transform your farm business today.